Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me. I think this fits quite well because I also will show or talk about public space, but I will take you around the globe now to the global south because my research is based in Hanoi, which is the capital of Vietnam. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. I'm going to talk about semiotics of urban space, producing and negotiating meaning in the city. According to Umberto Eco, semiotics of architecture, so you know him probably from literature studies, but he's also written on architecture. And according to him, every architectonic object has got two different functions. So first of all, there is a use function, which he calls utilitas function. So you can really look at how people use a certain space or a certain object, like for example, this museum here. And then they have a second function, which would be called the symbolic communicative function, also called connotation. And that is more the idea that people have about the meaning of this certain place. So what I did in my research when I went to Vietnam is really focus on the materiality of public spaces, so on the built environment, really looking what the materiality of the space is like and how people use it. And here we come back to what Hannah said in the introduction, so really the practices of people, what they actually do in these spaces. That's what I was interested in. And on the second level then, which associations, which ideas and meanings they have of a certain place. And they can be historically influenced, culturally, anything. Talking about, I will come to that later. When I was invited to this workshop, I started to think, because when I went to Vietnam doing my field research, I didn't really have in mind of sensing the city or looking at the senses. But in the end, I found I did quite a lot on this, or I came across a lot of literature. And first of all, just to give you some theoretical insights very shortly, the urban landscape, according to Sharon Sukin, who's a cultural geographer, is a combination of the physical environment, as I said, so really of the streets, the monuments, the buildings, anything you can see, the infrastructures, and the symbolic representations of social practices. So again, really the everyday routines of people living in the city. They go to work every day, they commute daily, they go to school or anything, or they go for a walk with their children, their family, anything. Then there is also the idea of walking in the city by Michel de Certeau. He regards actually the people living in the city as Wandersmänner. So people really walk the urban text every day. And he says they do this without any intentions, but by moving through the city and really walking in the city, they change also the built environment. Then there is an older approach by Kevin Lynch, The Image of the City from the 1960s, and this is very much about orienting oneself in the city, so kind of very focused on the sense of seeing, of really seeing with the eyes, because according to Lynch, we have a mental map of the city we are living in, so we have certain landmarks. For Cologne, it would be the Kölner Dome, but I don't live near the train station. I live near the Brüsseler Platz, and there it would be the church there, for example. So that's a different kind of mental map I would have, for example. Then there is this idea of listening to the city, and I think that was also mentioned by Rainer, really listening what happens, the sounds that you get in everyday life. And this is also something that has been introduced as soundscapes of the city. Talking about the adaptability of methods, I spent 1 year of field research in Vietnam, and I went to three different public spaces on a daily basis. And the methods I used were participant observation, so really hanging out in these places, looking at what people actually do there. Then I talked to people, why they come there, what they do, and how they think of this place. I did research in archives to get to know the history, to also have a historical background of how the built environment changed over time. And then this is something I will do, and I kind of did a little bit, is really doing sound walks, really walking these spaces and having something to, I don't know how you call it, a recorder to record. And then listen to it, and then you suddenly understand, I think you said it in the beginning, the cacophony, but on the other hand you will find that certainly you hear birds or anything in a really packed area where there's a lot of traffic and you wouldn't have thought about this before. So this really gives attention to other impressions of the city. I will introduce now to you a space to make it a little bit more practically, and this is really in the historic center. You know, Hanoi is half as old as Cologne, as I just got to know. It's about 1,000 years old. And the man you see over there on the monument, he's the founder, he's King Li Taitou, and he founded the city of Hanoi at the Red River Delta in the 11th century. So this is a long tradition. And the place I studied is really located in the historical district of Hanoi, and nearly anyone, even not from Hanoi, but living in Vietnam, knows this place because it's a kind of a sacred place. It's the place where the legend started, where everything began with the city, and there is a lake located nearby. But the statue has only been there for some years, and most of the people just don't care that much about the statue. That's the interesting point about it, although it's also the name bearer of the place. Here on the left-hand side, you see, you have to know Vietnam was colonialized by the French, starting at the mid of the 19th century. And at the end of the 19th century, Hanoi was kind of the capital of Indochina, and the French were really based in the city. And they took up this historical center, and they kind of rebuilt the whole area. So you have a very nice neoclassicist buildings and French municipal buildings. And this is the statue by the then General Governor of Indochina, here on the left-hand side, Paul Bert, that was erected there. So this is a place that has also a strong political meaning, and it was really kind of by the French. They demolished the former statue that was standing there, that was a religious temple, and then put on their own idea of the city on it. So then this place was changed after 1945. The French were defeated, and the Vietnamese government decided to have this place renamed, and then only at the end of the 20th century erected this statue over there. And what I would like to show you now is going back to these semiotics, so really looking at the practices and the meaning of for the people, is that people come to this place, for example, for praying, because in Vietnam you have certain deities, and they can also be national heroes, like this first king of Vietnam who erected the capital there. So people come there, for example, for New Year's Day, and they bring flowers, incense sticks, anything. And so it has got a sacred meaning for the people living in the city. On the other hand, if you can already see it here, it's a very flat ground. I'm not sure whether it's marble, but it's a very nice ground. So this has also come to be a very important and nice place for young people to hang around. So they like to do skateboarding, breakdancing is very popular. And for this, of course, you need a flat ground, and it's a central meeting point. Anyone can come there from the neighborhoods. So this has become a very popular gathering place for these young people. So you can see that there are diverse functions, and these are only a few. There is much more going on: badminton playing, football, small children playing, anything. So coming back now to the semiotics, what I would like to show you with this is that if you look at the first function, the denotation, you will see that this Li Taitou Square is actually a place of worship. It's a meeting point for the urban youth, but it's also a place that is very much used by the state. And Vietnam is still a communist, socialist country with the Communist Party ruling. So the state has a strong hold over public space and really tries to influence the symbolism and what is going on in these places. And they, for example, celebrated Hanoi's 1000th anniversary in there, and so they did a big kind of nation-building celebration. So if you look then at the connotation, would be a more abstract level, you will find that for Hanoians living in the city, it's a sacred place. They come to go there for praying. It's an official space because it's still controlled by the state, and the symbolism is very much deciphered by the state. And it has become a public space because anyone can go there. There is a guard watching, because this concept of public space is quite new to Vietnam, but people really can almost do anything there. There are some signs saying what you are not allowed to do there, but no one cares actually. So that's a brief excursion to Vietnam. Thank you very much.